coming up on today's show.
If you find your team members are procrastinating certain tasks, it is not an area of passion.
You can have these programs in place and these systems, but they need to be implemented through leadership.
That they're going to reach resistance, right? That's expected. People are scared of change. And how do you go about doing that?
Maximizing your talent, part 2, today on Keeping You Organized. Well, welcome back to Keeping You Organized. I say welcome back because we are in part 2 of a 2-part program with Jan Lehman from CTC.
Yes, very good.
Productivity. And last time we started this discussion about maximizing your talent, whether you're hiring new people or if you have a company and you want to get the best out of the people who are already there. The things we're talking about in the previous program and in this program are really key to that. So Jan, just as a review on last time, we talked more about hiring new people. We touched on a little bit about that communication, right, beforehand. And why don't you just give a little thumbnail again on what you should do with a company if you're getting ready to hire and the communication that needs to take place.
Just clarity of communication and just repeating it, both written and verbal. I mean, kind of all different ways.
And making sure people know the job description and the expectations.
Expectations huge.
We touched on that as well. We also talked about the 30, 60, 90. What kind of what's that again? That's
again just a check-in, because again, oftentimes the recruiting process will happen and they'll lob a person into a company and just assume all is good.
Right.
So the 30, 60, 90 allows both the individual and the company to have a checkpoint.
Yeah.
And how are things going? And hopefully the employee will know they can be very honest and open with that communication.
Do you, when you're hiring someone, do you say, hey, by the way, part of our process here is we're going to do a 30, 60, 90, so they know that there's a 30, 60, 90?
Yeah, they should. Yeah, it's just a good practice within all companies.
No one likes to be called in an office 30 days after.
No, not expecting
it. Doing your review. What do you
It's part of expectations, right?
That's true. That's true. We also touched on the end of last program on tools and different ones that you can use to assess skills, like can you do Microsoft Word and that kind of thing. And also personality. That's where we kind of left off, and I want to dig into a little bit more on that. We talked about personality. I gave an example of the DISC program, like for sales salespeople. But is there any more on that kind of assessment that you want to add?
So I think there's the DISC and Myers-Briggs and all that stuff still is alive and well. And what I'm seeing is more of a layering on top of that.
Okay.
So looking at again back to sort of communication skills. So there's aspects of looking at like how do you communicate, and could you be you be taken as sort of too abrupt to somebody that maybe is a very quiet communicator, and so how do you reach that common ground where you can really talk?
Yes.
And so there's different layers on top of the original DISC and Myers-Briggs, which a lot of companies explore.
There was a program, and I can't remember the name of it. It wasn't DISC, it wasn't Myers-Briggs, but one thing I learned from that in this other company I worked at, we all went through it, and I was the manager at the time, so the facilitator came and said, oh, by the way, you have one person here, he wouldn't say the name, who is like kind of off the scale, and this is their type, and I knew right away who it was, and I'm going, it's interesting that you can pull that out of an assessment. But the kind of the lesson of this is that those assessments are not really beneficial unless you analyze them and even have a leader or a coach who knows that system, who can read beyond it.
Yes.
And maybe even like in the case of a Myers-Briggs, you will take that, but it's always good to get together with someone who knows how to, okay, so when you're doing this, such and such and such and such.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, especially to leverage it fully through their career, because one of the things we wanted to talk about was figuring out where people are passionate about and where their natural skills are.
Yeah.
And so it's really important, any manager is going back and looking at that, because they might tap into, this might be a quiet person, but they might have some unbelievable skills that you're not aware of, because they're not going to brag and talk about their talent.
Yeah.
So looking at that will show you where they have natural skills maybe you should be tapping into that they're probably super passionate about.
Yeah, and Strength Finders is another one. So we talk a lot about strengths, but you're saying that it's not only strengths, it's also passions. How do you get that out of somebody when is there an assessment for that as well, or?
With passion, sometimes passion will show up, and again, a lot of these tests, success.
Yeah.
Oftentimes I will find, quite honestly, when coaching my clients and instructing them is if you find your team members are procrastinating certain tasks, it is not an area of passion. People that are excited about something are going to figure out how to get it done. So if you're starting to see there's constantly an excuse on why they're not working on that particular project, again, maybe there truly is a productivity challenge, but oftentimes it could be that they just really aren't excited about it and it's not what they want to do. People who are passionate will figure out how to get it done because they're super excited. So you can spot it pretty easily.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Well, listen, we're going to take a quick break, and what we need to talk about, I think, when we come back is leadership, because you can have these programs in place and these systems, but they need to be implemented through leadership.
Yes.
So
that's big.
we'll touch on that when we come back. We're with Jan Lehman, CTC Productivity, talking about maximizing your talent, and we'll be right back.
Now there's a place just for you. Life can be busy, and you still have to keep it all together. That's why you like to be organized and in control. Introducing MyOrganized.life, a special place where you can get ideas and solutions to organize what's important to you, your important papers, your important decisions, your important life events. We show you the ideas and products to stay organized in your life. See what's new. Stop by and say hello. Visit us at any time at www.myorganized.life. It's just for you. MyOrganized.life by Smead. Find us at www.myorganized.life. MyOrganized.life.
We're back now on Keeping You Organized, talking about maximizing your talent, whether you're hiring new people or you're working with your existing set of employees. And Jan Lehman, CTC Productivity, is joining us. Jan, before the break, we talked about this concept of, there are a lot of tools and there are a lot of ways that you can, get set up for success. But it still takes leadership, right?
It's key. It's pivotal.
So talk a little bit about how leadership plays into implementing this kind of stuff.
Yeah, this is huge. And I didn't mean for me to do a plug in my book today, but I'm going to.
No, absolutely.
So we're actually writing a book.
By the way, haven't you seen, we love shameless promotion here.
Perfect.
Come on.
I love it. Well, we're writing a book, and of course it's about our productivity and our 3 T's and all that stuff. But the real sort of the twist to the book is about the importance of leadership. And it's really going to highlight a number of our key clients and how we were successful only because they took the baton and carried it through that change within the company, and they believed in the change. And that's what we'll see will fail quite often, is we might have great ideas related to how do you keep your new hires, all the different things. But if management's not going to enforce that this happens and changes, so we're trying to instill a culture of productivity within a whole company. Without leadership's support and sort of stamp of approval on this, it's not going to happen.
So let's dig in. You don't have to mention company names, but give an example of more than just the head guy saying, I agree, we need to do leadership. What are you actually kind of empowering them to do and teaching them so that all this can happen?
For the leadership team? So helping them understand, I guess, the change model is part of it, that they're going to reach resistance, right? That's expected. People are scared of change. And how do you go about doing that? And letting them know, often we'll come into a company and they'll say, we can't do that. We've got so many people resistant against technology. And we'll say, well, let's sort of adjust the expectations. Let's actually focus on the new people coming in and maybe middle management that's super interested in learning the best way to do something. And once you get that wave of about 80% of your company, again, maximizing their talent, the 20% is going to be like, they're onto something here, and they're going to jump on board. So it's educating leadership that this isn't an easy road, but if you believe in it, this is sort of the things we're going to go through and how we get there.
I bet also when we're talking about maximizing talent, like within a company, if the leadership or if the company is just poorly run, that can drag people down. So how does leadership and a poorly run company relate to maximizing talent, and how do you kind of overcome that?
It's tough. I have to say, if if the leadership is the one bringing me in and they're not progressive and they're not interested, nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
And that's where you'll see a lot of your hires leaving, because they're all about the culture. And the culture is set in a lot of different areas. It's not about having fun parties.
Yeah.
It's about, again, investing in your talent and making sure they have the skills to be successful. It's about being progressive and looking ahead.
Yeah.
So if we find a really progressive leader that knows they can do better, we can make a world of difference with that company and change the culture to be a more positive company.
You know, when you bring up the word culture, I think about, you know, millennials, and you see ads for companies where they're talking all about, you know, what the break room is like, and we got beer on Fridays, and you know, casual, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and how is that important in a millennial's point of view when we're talking about maximizing, let's say, the talent of a millennial?
Yeah, so definitely everybody loves the perks, right?
Yeah.
And you know, if you have an older looking building or whatever, millennials, and a lot of people might be turned off by it, because again, they might not think you're progressive.
Yeah.
And ultimately, you want progressive people who can move the business forward. So millennials, you know, quite often they have high expectations, right? They're used to things happening fast. If you have a sluggish, you know, poorly run company and people's talent isn't being used fully, people are going to run from that. That's part of your culture. So a highly engaged workforce means, again, that they have the skills to be, you know, to be successful, and all of that. It's a big package.
Yeah. So it gets back to leadership again.
Yeah,
right? I mean,
it's all leadership's huge.
Yeah, and I think, you know, my big takeaway is leadership, training, and having some of these things in place. But let's talk about how to maximize talent maybe at home.
Okay, yeah.
Is that, I mean, it's a twist, because, you know, you're
fun,
really the same person at home as you are at an office, right? So how does that all tie in?
Yeah, so I'll back up and tell you that, so our company is all about helping people be organized and productive both at home and at work. And the reason for that is we work with busy professionals, and half the time our busy professionals are stressed out before they even get to work. So we're backing up and saying, let's fix this whole thing. Had many CEOs say, if I was more organized and my family was more organized at home, I'd save 4 to 7 hours a week. That's huge,
that is huge
for somebody at that pay grade, right? So, so we definitely do a holistic approach of helping at home and in work. And again, it's the 3 T's. So making sure they're using the time wisely at home, making sure they're leveraging technology at home. From the talent perspective, it's making sure that everybody within the home, just like in an organization, again, knows the systems, right, to maintain the home. They know the expectation that if your room's not cleaned up and you know where things go, you don't get video. So it's making people accountable. It's interesting how it mimics in the home. And so certainly you can't do it with a 2-year-old, but if you've got children, you know, 10 and up, it's time. It's time for them to start having more of a bigger job description and more accountability, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we go, we're just about done here. Let's talk a little bit about your company and how people can get a hold of you.
Sure. So about our phone number is 651-600-8382.
Okay.
The website is CTC, which we say stands for Circle the Customer, our holistic approach. CTCproductivity.com.
Okay.
And we're based in the Twin Cities, but we do presentations and coaching all over the country. And our goal this year is to be international. So
awesome. Well, that's great. Well, Jan, thank you so much for another 2-part great episode. If you didn't see part 1, go back and see or listen to that, because that was great as well. And I'm sure we'll have you back again, even though we've gone through all the 3 T's.
We can keep going. There's more rabbit holes.
There's more rabbit holes to go on. So, all right, folks, take what you've learned, go out, maximize your talent, and come back next time on Keeping You Organized.